Hi, back in session with Professor P. I hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy. Today we're going to do the chapter on art. Art is really cool, but art is very subjective. What one person believes is art, another may not. For example, I collect wooden masks from all over, right? From either it's my travels or from organizations and from people I'm supporting. Behind me, as you could see, there's a mask. It's the shark god. The Hawaiian people actually honored the shark god. I have a lot of masks around my house, some from my fieldwork in Guatemala. And the indigenous people made a lot of masks and a lot of art out of wood. Okay, let's begin. When we talk about art in the field of anthropology, it's very difficult to define. But what we do know is this. Follow along with your concept sheets. Art is used to illustrate rank, gender, sex, social position, employment, right? Religion, or ethnic identity within a society. What's quite interesting is it always has to give you an emotion and a feeling, right? Sometimes when you guys are sad, you want to listen to a sad song. When you guys are happy, you want to be upbeat, you may dance, right? Some of you are artists. How many of you draw, you paint, you do graphic art? There's a lot of different things that we do when it comes to art. We also talk about body decoration and adornment. That could be permanent, like tattooing, scarification, right? It could be non-permanent, like wearing makeup or having earrings or wearing a headband, right? Art varies. It varies cross-culturally as well, right? Let's talk about visual art. Visual art is very important because when we talk about visual art, it has to mirror whatever is in your environment. So, whatever materials, whatever technology is available to you, that's typically what you're going to use in your art. For example, like I was telling you, when I did field work, they had a lot of access to wood. So they did a lot of wood masks, a lot of wood carvings, different things like that. In our society, technology is highly available. So you're going to use computer, you're going to do animation, you're going to do 3D art, right? You're going to do graphic art. You guys are going to, do imagery, and you're going to do all of this stuff because you have high technology available to you. That's what we mean by it's going to mirror whatever's in your environment. All right, let's get to the next concepts on your sheet. The difference between egalitarian and complex art. But before we do that, we're going to talk about what art reflects. Art can reflect a lot of things in a society. It can reflect the importance of a person within society. It can reveal the concerns of a society, right? It can reveal things that are really going on politically and economically. For example, if we talk about Trump, there's a lot of, cartoons about him. There's a lot of political stuff. If you even take something like music, right? Music can have a lot of messages and artistic messages in it. Rastafarian, even the hairdo, right, of the dreads was a political movement against the nation state, right? So it becomes important. I used to, at St. Mary's, I used to teach about border theory there. And one of the things we talked about is border music, like conjuntos. They really talked about their resistance against the nation state, the difficulties crossing borders, right? The political animosity between the United States and, the Mexican population. A lot of this was really verbalized within their music and within their what they called conjuntos. So it becomes important to really understand art can have a lot to say. How many of you think about like graffiti art? Right? What is really being, written on the walls and displayed, right? Very political. So that becomes very important. It could reveal all kinds of concerns. It can reveal stratification, right? It can reveal lots of different kinds of things within a society. All right, let's get to the difference between egalitarian and complex societies art. Egalitarian art, remember, those are like the Hadza, those are band societies, hunting and gathering societies. Their art is very simple in nature. And that doesn't mean that's bad. That just means it's very repetitive. It's very symmetrical, right? What becomes important in an egalitarian art is that everybody has access to it. It's not signed. It's not owned, right? In a complex society like ours, art is very diverse. It's asymmetrical. Right? It could be postmodern in many different kinds of directions. We also have a lot of different kinds of art. Ceramics, paintings, drawing, graffiti, music, right? all of these different kinds of things really reflect the diversity we have within our own society. Even the art itself is asymmetrical, which means it's multidimensional. There could be in a small amount of space, many different colors, many different, directions. It could be abstract, right? There's different kinds of art because it's going to reflect our kinds of societies. All right, good. Let's get to music. Music is the same way, right? Music has a lot of meaning. Historically, music could be used for healing. And a lot of you guys, how many of you listen to music? You like different kinds of genres of music, right? The difference between egalitarian and complex music is a lot. Typically, egalitarian music is very sort of simple in nature. Like la, 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 la. It just is very, everybody can be part of it, right? So they keep it simple. With our kinds of music, let's go around, right? We could even talk about in the discussion boards in the classroom, how many different kinds of genres can we talk about in the United States? Rock and roll, right? Even within that, heavy metal, right? Classic rock, country, rap music, alternative, ska, right? Banda music, right? It could be diverse, again, representing our own diversity. But also when we talk about music, we could have backup singers, bass players, drummers, right? The head musician. There's so much going on because we're complex. And it gives us a lot to choose from. If you don't like a specific kind of music, then you go to another music, right? We like a lot of music in my house, whether it's country, whether it's alternative, whether it's rock, whether it's, an era like the 90s, right? Or the 80s music. So there's a lot of diversity with even yourself, right? In terms of music. All right, good. Let's move on to folklore. Folklore is one of my favorite areas in art. Folklore includes the categories of myths, legends, folk tales, ballads, riddles, and all the superstitions of a cultural group. Those can be transmitted in a lot of different ways. Orally, through games, through fairy tales, written. All societies have some kind of folklore. So let's get started. Folklore can be riddles or just little kinds of myth, right? Jump on a crack, break your mama's back. Opening up an umbrella, right, in a house can bring you bad luck. But there's also big stories too that we're going to get to in a minute. But think about in your own sort of culture, what kinds of myths and legends and folklore you grew up with. What about the boogeyman? Right? And there's reasons we use the boogeyman. We want to scare the crap out of our kids. Maybe say the boogeyman's going to get you, don't go outside. Stay in bed or the boogeyman's going to come out if you get up at night, right? My worst one was Bloody Mary, right? Bloody Mary, you go into the bathroom, you say Bloody Mary, right? Then she may appear to you, take your soul, you could die. When I was a kid, I never went into the bathroom and looked in a mirror at night. There was no way I was invoking Bloody Mary, right? So there's all these different kinds of superstition. Some of my students have told me in their own cultures, in certain cultures, right? If you cut your fingernails or toenails, and you leave them on the ground, it's bad luck. You're supposed to flush them down the toilet or, put them in the water or the sink so that it recleanses or purifies you, right? Same as cutting your hair. You should flush it down and not just throw it in the garbage, right? That could bring bad luck. Some of my students tell me they're raised in cultures where you leave a little bit of dishes at night and the window's open so your ancestors can eat at night. Or that's bad luck and you're being stingy and selfish, right? Many of you grew up like that. How about growing up when I'm back? I had a little bit of technical difficulty. Okay, so we talked about leaving with, the hair being wet and bringing bad luck. But there's lots of ones that you guys grew up with. One universal one is the boogeyman. All societies have a version of the boogeyman. In addition to that, another one is La Llorona, or the White Witch. Every society has a version. Let me give you a little bit of background of La Llorona. La Llorona was a very beautiful woman, and she was married to a very beautiful man. One day, she went down to the river, and she killed her kids. But she went up, and she told her husband, I want to spend the day with you, and let's just be together. So he said, okay. Later on at night, he says, where's the kids? She says, oh, I left them playing by the river. And she goes, well, take me to my kids. And she says, well, I have something to confess. I killed the kids. So he says, take me where you killed the kids. He takes her down there, and they go down there, and he kills her by the river. And legend has it that a witch stays in the waterways screaming that she's either going to kill you to help you find her kids, or she's going to kill you to pass you off as one of her kids. There's many different versions. There's also a version in the Philippines of the White Witch where if your car's broken down, right, and there's a woman with her car broken down, and she stands there, and she's very beautiful. And men stop to fix her car, but she only shows the beautiful image of her. And when the men go to fix her car, right, they get into the car, and she turns into this beautiful witch, and she kills them. I guess the moral of the story is don't help women stranded at the side of the road. I don't know. But we have lots of different versions. How about some of you guys at the Black Diamond Mines where the cemetery is? A white witch is supposed to haunt the cemetery there. There's lots of different fun versions. So remember, when we talk about the category of folklore, it includes a lot of different things. Even things your own family makes up. We pass them down to our children. We pass these stories down. Some are scary. Some riddles and ballads are fun. Remember, even fairy tales like the Disney stories. Ariel, right? And Cinderella, right? And the Prince. All of those are part of the category of folklore. All right, fun. Let's get down to the 5 themes used in myths and folk tales, but not every society has those. So these are the 5 themes. Usually a catastrophe, like a flood. Something bad may happen. Number 2 could be monsters or the slaying of monsters, some type of monster involved. Number 3 could be incest. Number 4 could be sibling rivalry. Number 5 could be castration. All right, those are the 5 different sort of myths within folk tales and folklore. Now, the last one on the concept sheet says cultural contact and artistic change. And basically this is saying that when cultures come together, right? Remember we talked about things like diffusion, acculturation. Sometimes culture change can happen when indigenous people are confronted, with colonizers who want to mass produce their art. So it can change the art, right? So we have a lot of artistic change in modern day society where things can be mass produced and they're not handmade anymore. I hope you enjoyed the chapter on art. Have a great day.